Hello and welcome to The Game-Changing Power of Giant Video Displays, a webinar presented by Samsung. My name is Paul Gillen and I'll be your host and moderator. In a moment we'll hear from 5 experts in the technology and use of digital video displays. But first, a little housekeeping. During the webinar, slides will be pushed to your screen automatically. If you want to view the presentation full screen, look for the small green Maximize button at the top right of the window. You can also drag the corner of the presentation window to reduce or enlarge it. You'll also see some widgets along the bottom of the console. Click on the green Resource widget to download the presentation in PDF format. The yellow question mark provides technical support, and the blue arrow enables you to share the event with a colleague. After our speakers finish their prepared remarks, they'll take your questions. You can submit a question by typing it into the text box on your webinar console and clicking the Submit button. Our speakers will either answer your question in the Q&A portion of the webinar or personally in an email to follow. Be sure to get your questions in early so that we get to them during the webinar. If you're just joining us, a reminder that today's topic is the game-changing power of giant video displays. Digital displays transform the video viewing experience from passive to immersive, making them a unique way to tell stories and enhance customer engagement. Liquid crystal technology has been the most affordable and popular type of digital display for the past few years, but light-emitting diode technology is rapidly coming down in cost, and that's opening up some intriguing new applications. Among the advantages of LED displays are finer resolution, brightness that stands out even in broad daylight, and flexible configuration options that permit the screens to be curved, squeezed into tight spaces, and stitched together into giant virtual displays. While LCD still has advantages and will be used for many years to come, today's most innovative new applications are being built with LEDs. In today's webinar, you'll learn about the pros and cons of both technologies, as well as how LED displays can unlock new uses of video for you. You'll also hear from Peppermill Casinos and how that casino has combined LED displays into a massive video fabric that reinvents the customer experience at its sportsbook operations. Our speakers will take you behind the scenes of a remarkable project that created a 110-foot curved video wall in less than 10 days without any downtime to the business. Eric Christensen will kick us off. He's managing partner of Nitec. He has a long track record of success in the hospitality industry, skilled in negotiation, business planning, sales, hotel management, and sales operations. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Eric Christensen. I am the founder of Nitec, Inc. Nitec is a value-added reseller focusing on the hospitality industry as well as professional AV products. We were founded in 2002, and we're not your normal company. We are a little bit different than your typical corporation in that we really, truly care about our customers, and we can do things that most corporations can't. We have very strong relationships with our customers, and one of them I'm going to introduce is Joe Ness. He's the Executive Director of Entertainment and Electronics Media at Peppermill Casinos, and he's been in the industry for 23 years. He's a leader. He's a leader in the gaming AV industry, and does a lot of unique things at Peppermill, like creating Peppermill's content, which is displayed in the casino, and traveling around the world collecting that content.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. We'll also hear from James Muta, Senior Manager of Engineering at Samsung Electronics. He has more than 20 years of engineering experience in such areas as mobility, systems engineering, embedded software, and Linux. And we'll hear from Larry Schultz, Senior Manager of Digital Signage Sales for Samsung Electronics America. With more than 20 years of sales experience, he's an expert on the value proposition and benefits of digital signage processes and their value to customers. Finally, we'll hear from Dave Haynes, the owner of Vertical Media Consulting Group and an expert on digital signage. He consults with both customers and vendors and produces a popular blog and podcast called 16:9.
I've been involved in digital signage for about 20 years now, and I think it's fair to say that we are indeed entering a new age for this technology. Direct View LED is now a mainstream product. That was not the case about 5 years ago when it first came on the market in terms of indoor displays. There's probably a little bit of confusion out there when you hear LED versus LED LCD displays. The reason that they're called direct view is with a direct view LED, you're looking directly at the LED lights, versus an LCD display, you're looking at an LCD layer that's illuminated by LED lighting in the back. You don't actually see those LED lights. That's the big difference. With this new technology, the design constraints of earlier tech is either easing or disappearing. With LED, you're now in a situation where it's being considered at the architectural design stage. So you can have active walls instead of solid walls like wood or tile. It means that you can have something like a building lobby that historically would just be something that you design in and it's there for 20 years until they do a renovation, versus an LED wall that fills a whole lobby of a building and is active and can change really on an instant. So here's the revolution that's being driven by LED. What's going to happen is direct view LED will largely supplant the narrow bezel LCD displays that you're now seeing in video wall projects. That's happening for a few reasons. First of all, designers and end users will pay the premiums to make seams completely go away. There is indeed a premium. DV LED walls are much easier to maintain and keep calibrated. When we talk about calibration with an LCD wall, the individual LCD displays all have to be perfectly matched up in terms of color, contrast, brightness, and everything else. And over time they can drift, so you end up with this patchwork quilt look to an LCD display wall unless there's very careful calibration of it. That doesn't really happen with LED. And finally, DV LED displays are generally much brighter and are going to last longer, as much as 100,000 hours. The cool thing about LED is that it prevents very few constraints for designers. With LCD, even the best displays are going to have hairline borders, which are called bezels. And what happens is you have these seams that are created when you put those bezels together. So even with very, very narrow LCD video walls in terms of their bezels, you're going to see grids in between or that bisect the images. That doesn't happen with LED. There are no visible seams. The way they're designed, you have the individual modules that adhere right to one another, and you really can't see where they're joined. You also have much smaller modules that allow for more design freedom in terms of shape and size. You can even do things like curved corners, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later about the Peppermill Casino. And finally, engineering with LED is quite a bit different than LCD. With an LCD, you could not suspend that from a ceiling facing down. The technical properties of the display would not allow that. But you can do that with LED, so you can have a ceiling of a building, a shopping mall, whatever, actually be made with LED and show a virtual sky or birds flying over top. So here's the distinction between premium LCD versus direct view LED. With LCD, you're talking about significantly lower cost right now, as much as 20% of the cost of LED for the same kind of physical footprint. So there is a big difference there, but it's slowly coming down, and there's a lot of discussion that over time it'll come to parity with one another. The thing about LCD versus LED where there's a real difference is with the screen footprint to realize something like 4K. If you want to do 4K with an LCD screen, it's one display. It can be 55 inches. If you want to do 4K with an LED display, you're having to think of each of those individual LED lights as pixels. And an LED module itself might have 300 pixels. So to realize 4K with a, let's say, a 2.5 millimeter LED wall, you're talking about 20 of those modules and something that may fill a whole stage, a whole wall, versus like something like a 55-inch LCD. So there's a very big difference in terms of footprint. And finally, LCD is touch compatible, while LED really isn't. There are some things being done to try to get around that, but really LCD is perfect for touch. LED is not, first of all, because the LED chips themselves can be fragile. So let's talk about LED. As we said before, there are no seams, so you can get this giant canvas where there's no grid lines or anything bisecting it. It's bright enough as a standard product to overpower most light sources. So you could put it in an atrium without worrying about getting high bright displays, without worrying about we need to tint the windows or whatever. It's going to cut through that. And finally, you have flexibility. You can do things like ribbons, you can do towers, you can do the kind of curves that we're going to talk about now with the Peppermill Casino.
Thank you, Dave. This is Eric with NITEC, and I'd like to talk about the challenge that we experienced at Peppermill. One day, Joe Ness, my good friend, gave me a call and to discuss a project they were working on for their sports book. It was a unique project because it had a few key details that were unique to any other video wall. Basically, it was a 110-foot wide video wall, but it had two curves in it. So it was a unique challenge, and we took that challenge and offered a solution that we thought would really benefit the Peppermill. So with that, we had to bring in Samsung, or we brought in Samsung for a lot of different reasons. One was Samsung, we feel, is superior technology. The embedded technology is better. It lasts longer. And really, they needed a few main features. One of them was front serviceability. The direct view video wall was adhered to a wall, and you could not get behind it without dismantling the cabinet. So front serviceability was a big factor, and not every direct view LED manufacturer offers that capability. The other challenge was that they needed to do this in 10 days, and they needed to do it while the sports book was running, so they didn't lose any revenue. And that was the challenge. Now, Peppermill is a very advanced company, and they have their own technicians that do installation. They have their own production for content, their own production facility. So it was really nice to be able to work with somebody who had that capability.
Yeah, Eric, Joe Ness. I wanted to just interject Joe Ness with the Peppermill and explain a little bit about, again, why the challenges on my end and how Samsung came through for us. You're right. The curve was a big deal for us, and we had an existing space that was 110-foot wide, and we had to put this new technology into this existing space really within 1 or 2 inches of that opening, and which brought in a lot of challenge in that the existing space already had regular televisions and LCD screens, which we were going to completely take out and install this new curved screen within 10 days. And the way the Samsung panels worked, it made this thing possible. Otherwise, there's no way. It would literally take, a month or two to be able to do this. And that was a huge part of this thing working. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so the solution here that we presented to Peppermill was 2.5 pixel pitch, millimeter pixel pitch, Samsung direct view LED, 433 cabinets, 5 UHD signage boxes, snow boxes, and a front serviceable jig that allows for front serviceability. We also brought in PDS, which is a division of Premier Mounts, to create the video wall, or to create the mounting solution for the video wall. And that required some custom pieces, and it required, a lot of CAD drawings and adjustments to get the proper mount in place to support this direct view video wall. There's a couple other things I wanted to bring up, and one was that Samsung did a very great job at coming in to Peppermill before they made their purchase and before they received this product and look at the infrastructure that was going to deliver the content to this video wall. And Jim Muta was able to basically remove or I guess consult Peppermill to remove a few scalers that were already in the snow signage boxes, and that brought the infrastructure costs down. So a little bit of savings for Peppermill there. And also Jim Muta was on site throughout the installation, offering his engineering support, and he's very knowledgeable and really knows his stuff. So he's a huge key for Samsung to unlocking these direct view LED opportunities. And then we've got the results. So the results, if you're ever in Reno, please stop by Peppermill and look at their sports book. I can tell you when I walked in after the installation, I didn't recognize the room. I actually walked past the sports book because it looked so different. It's a completely immersive experience. If you're showing one image, it's extremely immersive. And Peppermill now has the ability to really do anything that they want as far as delivering content. They can show multiple games, as many as they want. They can lay out different content all over this direct view LED wall. And it really does, there's no limits to what you can do as far as delivering content. Samsung makes a beautiful product. I'd say it's the best on the market. And they also offer extended warranties, which complement their, the long lifetime of a direct view LED wall.
Thank you, Joe and Eric. My name is Larry Schultz from Samsung, and we're going to talk about the use cases of direct view LED. Direct view LED has become the display choice of a variety of verticals like retail for product awareness, corporations for boardrooms or lobby space, advertisements for full motion signage, or hospitality. Choosing the right partner has become more important than ever. You want an integration partner who understands all the details of a direct view LED project, like installation, cost, and hardware. You want to choose a partner like Nitec, who is qualified and knowledgeable for a superior customer experience. You want to make sure your integration provider has the necessary technical and product knowledge to pick the right solution for your project. Nitec has been providing Peppermill displays since the 50-inch flat panels were launched in 1999. They have been a supplier of a variety of products to their customers, from in-room hospitality televisions to professional displays, with regional and national support. Everything is all about the first impression, and when you first see a Samsung Direct View LED wall, you are drawn to their superior picture quality and color reproduction. It's lifelike. This is accomplished through their visual innovations of high dynamic range and dynamic peaking technologies. The Samsung Direct View LED offers deeper contrast, brighter whites, and darker blacks. The Samsung Direct View LED offers a reduced total cost of ownership with clean, hassle-free installation and maintenance over previous technologies. The Samsung LED UHD signage player leverages Magic Info to develop, schedule, and manage content. It also offers low latency for live events, LED auto brightness, and audio to video sync. The Samsung S-Box transmits UHD content across multiple screens without expensive splitters or multiple external boxes. The Samsung solution is the package of choice with high reliability, reduced total cost of ownership, superior design, product features, and customer support. It is the complete package. With Samsung's Direct View LED, you will get an average life of 100,000 hours over its previous technologies. Now I'd like you to introduce Jim Muta, Samsung Solution Architect.
Thank you, Larry. My name is Jim Yutta with Samsung Electronics. We're going to discuss some of Samsung's feature set for Direct View LED. The following 8 features are what set Samsung apart from the industry, producing the best front-of-screen performance and accurate color reproduction. These 8 feature sets will be discussed in the next several slides. The LED HDR, Advanced Grayscale, Multiple Gamut, which is compound color space, Perfect Calibration, which is done both at the factory and on-site, Slim and Light Design for installation, Front Accessibility for repair and service, our UHD S-Box compatibility, and our digital signage control called Magic Info. On this slide, we're going to discuss the HDR, integrated color control, and low gray level correction. Within Samsung's HDR, we have 2 components. We have what we call dynamic peaking and inverse tone mapping. Both of these allow Samsung's product to produce twice the luminance at the same power consumption. Regarding a 1.5 millimeter pitch, standard luminance is 800 nits. When we implement HDR, we can increase that to 1600 nits. HDR is capable of producing a brighter luminance due to shifting the power required to light the diodes dynamically following the content. Therefore, if there's a black image, the diodes that are not lit, and that energy is then utilized for the diodes that are lit, increasing the luminance by 2 times. Inverse tone mapping allows us to de-peak the video for a clearer picture. It would be similar to you going outside on a bright day and not wearing sunglasses and then putting on sunglasses and seeing more detail without losing any of the color capability. The next one is basically what we call integrated color control, which is very important. This is a compound color space dynamically following the content. What that means is, however the content is recorded, we have 2 color spaces available to reproduce that color accurately and correctly, allowing for correct facial and flesh tone color. And then the third one, which is grayscale linear color tracking, which allows us to maintain linear color tracking from black to white without any color shift along the way. Easy operation. Samsung provides 3 steps of calibration for our LED product. First, from the factory, calibrating each module and dial for brightness and uniformity in color. Second, if necessary, on-site calibration is done with the DSLR camera. And third, utilizing our Samsung LED Signage Manager software, allowing us to color correct each individual module and/or cabinet for brightness and color uniformity. And regarding superior quality, Samsung has an LED product that has an MTBF of 100,000 hours. Samsung provides hassle-free installation with a simple rail kit with a keyhole slot design, allowing our cabinets to basically be inserted and drop down into a keyhole slot, ensuring accurate placement for each and every cabinet. After the installation of the cabinet and the rail mounted to the wall, we have a compact design of only 90 millimeters of depth, allowing us to be able to comply with the ADA compliance. And last but not least, we can control our LED wall with Magic Info, our digital signage application, from anywhere and any location.
Thanks, Jim and Larry. This is Joe with the Peppermill. And the Peppermill is an entertainment and gaming company which is made up of 7 properties in Nevada. And we've been working with all kinds of different technologies, including LED, for the last 4 or 5 years. One of the things I'd like to mention about the Peppermill is we have created a brand, and one of our main brands, in fact, the main brand of the Peppermill, is a product that I created with the ownership called Windows of the World. And what that is we have traveled all around the world and created our own content. We've shot sunsets, waterfalls, Africa animals in 4, 6, and 8K, and have created a huge library of tens of thousands of shots that we display on LEDs throughout our property. It has, again, created our brand. It's what set us apart. It's put us on the top of the market in all of our markets, and we're super proud of it. And anyone who comes into Reno should take a look at this stuff.
Well, thanks to all of our speakers, and now they're ready to take your questions. But before we get to questions, I want to alert you to some resources that are available in the docket below. Some of the assets you can find are a visit to Samsung's The Wall. You can learn more about Peppermill. You can download a white paper about LED digital signage and visit Samsung's display solution offerings. Once again, thanks to all of our speakers, and thanks to you, our audience, for joining us today. Now it's time to get to your questions. If you joined us a little late, just a reminder that you can submit a question by typing it into the text box on your webinar console and clicking the Submit button. With that said, let's look at questions that we have had coming in from our audience. This one, I think, for Peppermill is about mentioning the implementation of your own art library and other assets to use with the new video wall inside the business. How did you implement this art library, and how did that change the customer experience? I suppose for Joe?
Yeah, this is Joe with the Peppermill, and yes, we, as you already know, we create our own content with video art that we acquire from all over the world. And what we've done in this particular case is we display this video art in full 4K resolution on our new video wall after the sports book has closed operation. In other words, after about 9 o'clock at night, we'll display different scenes from all over the world, and it's made a huge impact on our business in that when people walk through there, remember, a casino is 24/7, and this sports book is situated in a high traffic area, and some of our highest traffic times of the day are after the sports book is closed. So people are walking by seeing this artwork, and it gives them an entertainment value all the way through the 24/7. So it plays all night long, and it's really increased the entertainment value of our casino.
Must be something to see. Question, can you speak about the potential of pros and cons of LED for use in cinemas, particularly in larger theaters with screens larger than 50 feet wide? That's not something we discussed specifically on this webcast, but perhaps Jim or Larry can take that?
Yeah, this is Larry. We have a division dedicated to the cinema market. We've showed it at CinemaCon 2 years. And we actually have an installation in Chatsworth, California, but we can actually get you hooked up with that division later on today.
Okay, so our question will be contacted offline then.
Yes.
Question for Dave. New technologies bringing better value to total cost of ownership, as you mentioned earlier. Can you elaborate on the value of today's video walls versus those from even 10 years ago? Or such things existed 10 years ago, maybe 5.
Yeah. There's a few things. First of all, the seams have, as I was talking about before, they've disappeared or just about disappeared. That's a big deal when it comes to visual presentation, especially with LED, which, as I said, is truly seamless. With LCD, it's far, far better than it was even like 5 years ago. There are seams, but they're very thin now. If you see older LCD video wall installations, you will see very thick grid lines, and it did not look good. Second, the resolution is much, much crisper than it was in the past. You know, we're now at full HD and 4K, and you're going to start to see 8K coming along. That wasn't like that certainly 5 years ago, and definitely not 10 years ago. Color reproduction is much better, and the ability to produce and play out 4K or even higher res content is much more doable than it was in the past. You have even relatively low-cost boxes that can do that. And third, video walls are now architectural features as opposed to, you know, just clusters of displays on an open wall. The Peppermill, you know, as we're talking about here, is a great example of a feature wall on a facility being all LED versus what you may have seen in the past, which is a feature wall that was built and then a bunch of screens were installed on the face of it. That's really a big distinction. You now have architects who are schooled on LED and thinking about, okay, for this wall, we're going to do the whole thing in LED, and we're going to do something like a graceful curve.
Very good. I understand there's a question here. I understand that because of color variations in the LED manufacturing process, installations may require multiple spares to be brought in at the time of the installation to replace faulty modules with perfectly matched LEDs. Is this an issue? And is it, if so, is it likely to change? Is that something perhaps that Larry or Jim would like to take?
Well, I could feel that one. This is Jim Muta. Regarding the LEDs and their color space that they, how should I say, illuminate, is the reason why you buy multiple spares. Because you want to get it from the same bin, which means the same wavelength of light for red, green, and blue, which allows you to match each individual module within the entire wall. Now, that is the reason why you buy spares, so that when the installation is being implemented and the diode is basically damaged, you replace it with the spare. You take that module that's damaged with the same color bin, and you get that basically repaired or module replaced. Now, this is the way it's done today. Samsung is working on future technology allowing us to actually color calibrate with uniformity of different bin diodes, which means in the future there's a good possibility you will not have to buy spares. But this technology that I'm speaking of is a few years out, and currently you currently would have to continue to buy spares to remain in the same lot and same diode wavelength. That's it. Thank you.
Terrific. Question about TAA. Are any or all of your products TAA compliant? Perhaps Larry could take that one.
Yeah, our country of origin for our 1.5, 2.
I think we lost Larry. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, so our 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 4, and 6 millimeter country of origin is Mexico, which is TAA compliant.
Asked and answered. What is another technical question? What is the minimum radius for curves in these installations? Again, another one. Really, that's kind of a toss-up. Who could take that one?
This is Jim with Samsung. Currently, our radius is 6,000 regarding both convex and concave. We do not provide flexible LEDs at this time. All of ours are fixed within a cabinet structure, and within that cabinet structure, we adhere to a 6,000 radius, both convex and concave. Thank you.
Question. Thank you. Question for Peppermill, for Joe. When considering implementing a video wall for your business, which internal stakeholders need to be looped into the conversation, and how did you go about that process?
Well, in our case, as the executive director of electronics and media, I work directly with the owner. We have very few layers in decision making here, so this particular case, I met with the owner. It was time for us to upgrade the sports book, and at that point, it was really just a decision that he and I made to proceed. At that point, we got into the design, the vendor selection process. But we're relatively different than a lot of other companies in which we have fewer layers and we're able to make fairly quick decisions that way. And Eric, maybe you can elaborate on how that works on maybe the rest of the industry.
Yeah, as Joe said, this is Eric with NITEC, by the way. As Joe said, Peppermill is very unique. They work directly with the owner. Other casinos that we've worked with, typically, there's an engineering department, there's a media director, and then it goes up into the executive. So we'll typically start with a media director or some head of engineering, and then from there it gets escalated.
Just a reminder to our audience, we are nearing the end of the questions that we have in the queue. If you do have any questions, be sure to get them in now, because once we do reach the end, we are going to sign off from this webinar. Question, it would be tremendously helpful to have a quoting function included with the design tools for LED and LCD video walls. More of a statement than a question, but perhaps that's something that Larry could take?
Yeah, this is Larry. Yeah, we don't sell, Samsung does not sell anything direct, and that is one of our tools in our websites. But we can refer you to the channel, and for quotations, we can reach any of us at any time. We can send you out a list of our contacts, but we can get you quotes usually within the same day or next day.
And with that, we do have a couple questions in the queue that we're going to take offline because they're not really relevant to our broader discussion, so you will get a response. With that, we are at the end of our question and answer session, and we are at the end of this webinar. So I would like to thank all of our speakers for joining us. I'd like to thank our audience for joining us today. There will be an archived version of this webinar available shortly, so watch your inbox for notification of when that archive is available, and we'll be sure to share it with your colleagues. We hope to see you all at future Samsung webinars. For now, this is Paul Gillen signing off and wishing you a great day.